Bayard, New Mexico is a small town located in the southwest part of our state. It's long been a mining community, and like a lot of rural mining communities, they've had their ups and downs over the years. But in that community, there's a town clerk named Christy Ortiz that's helped pulling it all together and moving the community forward at a time when they need help the most. Christy noticed, like many others in the community, that their library was no longer sufficient. Overcrowded, old, they needed a new one. So Christy went out and found funding for a brand new library facility, state of the art. And the year after that, she went out and found funding for 2 new police cars. And the year after that, improvements to the community center. And she's got all sorts of other stuff planned for that community. It's individuals like Christy that are making a difference in these rural small towns, and I see them in my work on rural development issues. But so much of what happens when we try to address rural issues is it's an outside-in approach. We're trying to tell people how to do their job. We're sending them mandates or regulations to say, be more like your urban cousins. Or we're sending out resources without much consideration of the local culture, environment, or history. Or the individuals making a difference there. People like Libby Campbell in Hardin County, New Mexico, population about 700. Mary grew up in that community, moved away for 30 years, and came back and just couldn't believe what had happened to her small towns. Main Street wasn't what it once was. Businesses weren't operating like they were. There weren't opportunities for young people and families moving into town. So she helped start a youth entrepreneurship program in that community. And then when she noticed that 40% of Hardin County's housing units were vacant, she went out and took a picture of every vacant home, researched who owned it, and is contacting them to see what their intentions are for that vacant house. Could we maybe give it to a new family coming into town? Could we repurpose it? There's also individuals like Margaret Merrill in Arima, New Mexico, which is a Navajo community on the west side of our state. Margaret is working diligently on a blue corn project to get people to start growing blue corn again and process it for sale. But she's also working to get broadband services to the community center where there are none. And when she noticed that their healthcare clinic shut down, and a clinic that saw 40,000 visitors a year, 40,000 visits a year, she worked on a telemedicine project to get access to physicians, even if they weren't located there, at least they could do it remotely. Our rural communities in New Mexico are in decline, and they have been for many years. Population decline, economic decline, brain drain, they face all sorts of issues. And so often in my work, people will ask me, why should I care? Who cares about what happens out there? The reason we all should care is so much of our culture and our values as New Mexicans comes from these rural communities. They contribute to our economy through agriculture, natural resource extraction. And more than a quarter of our state's children are educated in these rural communities. So yes, we should care about what goes on there, and we should try to make it better if we can. The people that I've mentioned to you have a lot in common. They were mentored, they lack a lot of financial support for what they do, and they also need space to create. All of these folks that I run into that are making things happen in their community were mentored by an individual or a group of individuals, shown the way in their community, the history and the traditions, and how to get things done. Why can't we encourage more mentorships like that? Why can't we all focus on mentoring somebody, leaving a legacy of mentorship in our community? Secondly, these folks, a lot of them aren't supported financially for what they do. Their volunteer work is a second unpaid job. Why can't we have a better system to help finance what they do, to support them so they can make these things happen, and it doesn't take away from their other needs in the community. Finally, they all express a need for a space to create, a space free from too much outside regulations or people telling them what to do or restricting their activity. They want to be creative. They want to pursue their community dreams. Let's foster that kind of atmosphere and environment for them. This model I'm talking about is not a rural model. It can also be an urban model. Right here in Albuquerque, we're really just a bunch of small towns and communities put together. Borellis and Hoffmantown and Old Town and Paradise Hills, they all have their individuals in those areas making a difference. So if all of us could spend a little bit of extra time, maybe a little bit of extra money, to help foster these folks, Can you imagine what that would mean for our state? I talked about 3 people in 3 communities. If you multiply that tenfold, let's say, those could be like jewels in the crown of our state's future success. Thank you.